Alright, now we need to add some code so that when the player enters the storm detector, we react to that event. Godot has a feature called signals to do so. When you select a given node, like the storm detector, in the node tab next to the inspector, you can find a list of signals that are emitted when a certain event happens. For example, you can detect when a body entered the area. A body like any kinematic body 2D, the enemy, the player. So we're going to double click on that body entered signal, and a window opens that allows us to connect that signal to a new function on a given node that has a script attached. So we're going to select the enemy. We want the enemy script to react here, and Godot will create a new method for us called _on name of the node, name of the signal. On storm detector, body entered in this case. Click connect to create the function and open the enemy script. The new function is added at the bottom of the script. We're going to select it, cut it with Ctrl X, and paste it right under the ready function. This is how we do it at GDQuest. We put these, we call them callbacks, these functions that get called back when a certain event happens. We place them right after the ready function, because often you will define signals, connections like these in the ready function, and you will have the reaction that way right below your setup code. Now we want to replace the line that says pass. The command tells us that we have to replace it with making the enemy die. So when something enters the stomp area, we're going to do two things. First, we're going to check if that body, the player in that case, is lower than the area. So if body dot global position dot y is lower than get node, we want to get our storm detector dot global position dot y. So while comparing the position on the y-axis of the storm detector in the game world with the position of the player that will enter the area. Going back to the enemy script, if we have that condition, the character, it should be greater than the storm detector's global position. If the player is below the storm detector, we are going to return from the function. Return is a keyword that returns a value, in that case void, which means it doesn't return anything, but it stops the function here. So all the code that we write after that will not be run. And if we don't return from the function, we can call a method called queue_free that will delete the enemy in a sense. And we want to do a little more than that. One thing we can do is deactivate the collisions on the enemy, because queue_free is essentially like killing the enemy. It's going to delete the node. With that, we can play the game, and now you should be able to jump on the enemy and kill it that way. Note that there is a small delay between the queue_free and the enemy dying. We want to make sure that when the player enters the stomp area, when it touches the enemy, it will not be killed by it or collide with it. So an extra thing we can do here is called getNode. GetNode is a function to get access to one of the nodes in our tree. So we're going to get the collision shape 2D. Okay, we're getting that collision shape 2D node, and we're going to set that disabled property to true so that the enemy cannot be collided with anymore. So dot disabled equals true. And with that, when you jump on the enemy, you should not be able to collide with it. We'll have to check if this works as expected. later, but in general in your games you will need some safety checks to ensure that you are not going to have the player die when it kills the enemy. It depends on how you write the death code, but